very lucky to have Dr. David Yaskowitz, who's our chair of socioeconomics at HR and turn over to him for a summer.
Thank you, David. Well, there is a lot that we don't know at this point, although you would think with the amount of media requests that myself and colleagues around the Gulf have been getting, everybody wants us to put a dollar value on the impact, and it's way too early to be able to do that. What I would like to do is spend a couple of minutes putting in perspective what we do about the Gulf. Last year, the Texas A&M University Press published a book in a series of books looking at the ocean and coastal economy of the Gulf of Mexico. As part of that book, we were able to calculate what we call the productive value of the Gulf of Mexico. And basically what that is focusing on 4 big sectors of the Gulf economy: oil and gas, tourism, commercial fisheries, and shipping. What is the impact of those sectors as a result of being on the Gulf of Mexico? So we did this study for both the U.S. and Mexico, but we weren't able to include Cuba for various reasons. What we found was that productive value, the fact that these economies were based upon workings of the Gulf in terms of the ecology, location, etc. What we found is that the Gulf of Mexico had a productive value in those 4 sectors of $234 billion each year. Now, what does that mean? I mean, that's a large amount, but in what context can we put that in? If the Gulf of Mexico was its own country based on those 4 sectors of the economy, it ranked 29th out of 230 countries around the world. That economy, the Gulf of Mexico, would be larger than Chile and Peru and Venezuela and Finland. So that's a significant productive resource that we have in the Gulf in terms of those 4 sectors. What we did about 4 weeks ago, I think now, is shortly after the blowout happened, Larry approached me and said, can we get a sense of what potentially could be the impact? And so based on some very preliminary numbers that NOAA had put out, looking at what the potential impact on wetlands were, possibly 500,000 acres when all was said and done. And those numbers grow and shrink on a daily basis. But based on 500,000 acres of wetland potentially impacted, what we found, if you look at the commercial, recreational, and tourism industry, how that would be impacted, as well as the ecosystem services, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment, that would come up to about $1.6 billion a year just for the impact of 500,000 acres of wetlands. Not counting oyster reefs, not counting dunes or barrier islands, just for wetlands. Now, a big chunk of that number, $1.2 billion, was attributed to ecosystem services. And what do we mean by ecosystem services? Well, we as humans enjoy the benefits received from our natural environment that we don't take into account through a market system. A big part of the services might be what we call storm protection or waste regulation. So if we're looking at wetlands, they're really good at doing a lot of things. One of the things they're really good at doing is protecting us from storm surge. So looking at storm surge and wastewater treatment as services in addition to recreational and commercial fishing, that accounted for $1.2 billion of that figure. So the commercial side, the market side of things that we could get a figure on that everybody really understands was significant. It's about $400 million. But a large majority of the value that we get from our natural environment is the things that we don't take into account every day, but that are nonetheless extremely important to us.